Again, if you're joining us for the first time, thank you. If not, you know what we're about to do next because we're going to do it like we always do it. We're going to do a one sentence review of Sandman, the Netflix series. Jason, what is your one sentence review?
Don't sleep on the show.
Ooh, I see what you did there. This show gave me a lot of emo dreams and some weird heartbreak. Or was it heartburn? Either or. This one I'm going to take a back seat in, but I'm pretty sure others are going to really
No, stay
enjoy
in the
this.
front seat.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how I go into this dream. Morpheus, the king of dreams, and one of the seven endless, is captured in a occult ritual in 1916. After being held captive for 106 years, Dream escapes and sets out to restore order to his realm, the Dreaming. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the summary of Sandman, the Netflix series based off the Sandman comic book. Again, if you're joining us for the first time, thank you. If not, you know what we're about to do next because we're going to do it like we always do it. We're going to do a one sentence review of Sandman and Netflix series. Jason, what is your one sentence review?
Don't sleep on the show.
Ooh, I see what you did there. This show gave me a lot of emo dreams and some weird heartbreak. Or was it heartburn? Either or. All right, Jason, tell us about Sandman.
So a little background on this. This was originally a series of 75 graphic novels or comic books, if you want, written by Neil Gaiman, and a whole bunch of different artists worked on it over the course of this 10 years. Between this comic book and The Crow, I made my entire personality after. This is probably one of the things that actually got me into reading comic books was this series. And yeah, this is like the love child between Dashboard Confessional and Robert Smith of The Cure, who had a baby who only lived in the year 2001 and only shopped at Hot Topic for all their life. But I digress. This show, it starts off a little slow. It starts off a little bit on the hokey side. There's a lot of hokiness to it, but
Very
man, does
dreamlike,
it
very sleepy like.
yeah, but man, does it not? It does not hit you right in the right spots. This is probably one of the best adaptations I've seen in a long, long time. That's including Game of Thrones season one. This is almost like shot for shot a remake of the books. There is a little bit more streamlined to the story because in the comic book, it's more of Dream just meandering through and just occasionally doing things that he has on his goals. Was mostly just him remembering things about the things that he did and having
Mhm.
conversations with people, and occasionally like, oh yeah, I got to get my mask back because I need that to help with my powers. And this is definitely more of a straight sort of storyline rather than this plotting exercise on how great Neil Gaiman can write, which is great because,
On the
as
side
I
note, real
said,
quick, like, it is the mask more important in the books than it was in the series? Because I feel like he did a lot to get the mask, and it was
and
like
nope,
never saw it again.
never saw it
Okay,
again.
all right, okay, good.
Yeah,
Good.
a
Go ahead,
lot of the
continue.
stuff, yeah, he gets the mask back, gets all the stuff back, and then, as I said, in the comic books, it's like, yeah, you never see him wear that crap ever again. Like, he doesn't even think about it ever again. But this stuff does do some of the great stuff that they do in the comics, particularly when he goes into hell. That's probably one of my favorite moments, even though they switched up a little bit in the show rather than the comics. That whole sequence of having a hope in hell is just like, it was amazing, and it's amazingly shot. Gwendolyn Christie, oh, so great as Lucifer. Um,
Hmm.
they're just like, the performances in here are just all a lot of excellence. The dude that plays Dream, his name is Tom Sturridge. He looks a little bit weird at times because there's a lot of times they give him like, because Dream is not a very emotive person. Unlike a lot of his other siblings, he's a very stoic kind of guy. He's always got his lips pursed and he's thinking and stuff. And they do a lot of
Hmm.
angles where they just make him look a little silly because, let's just be honest, like the whole Robert Smith, who they did actually model Dream after, sort of aesthetic has long since played out. It was kind of like on its way out even when I was a teenager, but it's long since played out, and it's kind of a silly looking at this pasty white dude who's skinnier than Prince was in his prime, trying to be trying to be stoic, and it's like, oh, someone get that dude a sandwich, man. He looks hungry.
Right,
But
right.
I digress. This show does a lot of really good stuff. There's a lot of good storylines here. I feel like for the most, I feel like, as I said, the first few episodes were kind of slow. I feel like they kind of don't get to the point until the very last bit of the very last episode of the season. But
Hmm.
that, as I said, is kind of like the comic book, except this one is a more focused direction. In the comic book, you gotta find the point somewhere. It's like, oh, after like 50 issues, like, oh, there's the point. I think that was on that panel where the point was. But there are some episodes here that are just pure masterpieces. Particularly the diner one, as I said, the one in hell, and then
Hmm.
my personal favorite, and I'm trying not to give any spoilers out here, is the one with death. And
Yes,
oh,
yes,
like I'm a blubbering mess by the end of that episode.
yes.
I wish, like, I'm not a religious person. I will never be a religious person ever and again in my life. But if there was some religion where they just said that's it, I would be like, cool. Sign me up for that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I ended up really loving this series. Um, I This is one of those things that Neil Gaiman came back and he was the creator of this. He had some hands on, so like the adaptations, you can tell there was care and craft in this adaptation, because unlike the Game of Thrones for the last few seasons, the actual creator of this was there and kept the other people on task, rather than them just like, oh, let's just, who cares about the story? Let's just mess it up. So this is great. This is great stuff. Also, 100% more black people than there are in the comic books. So that's also a plus, because a lot of this stuff in the comic books is a bunch of just, yeah, pasty white folks and stuff. And this one actually realizes the world is a lot different than
Hmm.
that. Even though Jason would say that their depiction of Cain and Abel is wrong, at least they were brown.
Oh,
Let's take the
yeah,
small wins where we can get them.
yeah.
Let's take the small wins where we can get them.
Just so
Because
much
in the comic books,
anti-blackness.
they were white. So
Oh wow. Well, I can't blame an old white
yeah.
dude not knowing that these Stokers would have been African, but whatever. Um,
But yeah, there
yeah.
is some really good stuff here, and I definitely suggest people watch this stuff if they can get over the fact that Sandman, aka Dream, aka Morpheus, looks like a dork halfway through most of this stuff.
Yeah, man. That Joker, one, he got too many names. Two, with you, like the early episodes are very slow and dreamlike. And I held on because I'm like, oh, everybody keeps telling me how great this is. I will say, bar none, it looks beautiful. It's shot beautiful. The rumor was it was like 15 mil per episode or something close to that. If
Dang.
that's true, you can see it all over that screen. I mean, there's some scenes in this show that are hauntingly beautiful.
Hmm.
Um, I didn't care for this as much as I thought I would, man. And I think because my expectation wasn't what the reality of it is. Now, granted, I made sure that I didn't read anything on Sandman and all that because I wanted to have this contrast from someone who's read the material versus me who have not. Um, it's cool. I'm with you. The last episodes, once they got to the death episode, I felt like it started really ramping up. But
Hmm.
when they got to the Rose Walker stuff, I was really enthralled by that. But I was more enthralled by the Rose. I guess that's the problem with it. That's my issue with it. Everything that doesn't include Sandman was awesome. And it sucks because the show's called Sandman. Like, only thing that was awesome with Sandman was the part where, like, at the end where he's creating things. I thought that was pretty dope. But
Yeah,
everything else, I kind of was just like, nah, like Corinthian, I wish he was in more of it. Like, I wish you just would have
he was
followed him.
awesome. Your
Yeah,
your
like
your
it
boy
just,
Boyd Holbrook. Oh, so good, so good.
yeah. I
And I
just
think
felt like I don't know. I was missing something that I don't know if it was that the books add that I needed to know, or I just felt like I don't know why this is supposed to be important. And I know they kept stressing the stakes of this, but it never felt for me that like Dream actually cared about the stakes until like the stakes kind of made its way to him. Like shit's fucking up, and it's like, oh, she showed up in my throne room. How did she do that? And it's like, oh, because she's this, and it's like, oh, so this gonna. But like you could know that. How does everybody else in your kingdom know your kingdom's starting to fuck up, and you don't realize your kingdom's fucking up? Like I don't know. It bothered me that like he's supposed to be this great, powerful thing or entity, and he felt dense, stupid, and dumb half the time.
He's an
And
idiot.
then the times where he did feel like a ruler, it was on some stubborn ruling stuff, which I'm fine with because that could be a personality trait. And they did kind of explain that through the thing. But again, all the things that I enjoyed the most were the stuff that just was not including him. Now, I guess you can make the argument that the shroud of him being in the area is part of the tension, but like Matthew the Raven was way doper than anything Sandman did for me. And then like again, I felt whelmed. Maybe that's what it is. I felt
You're not
whelmed.
overwhelmed, you're just whelmed.
Yeah, and I wasn't
Which is good to
underwhelmed.
be
I just was
whelmed.
whelmed because yeah, you're right. Look, my two favorite episodes. One, he's not into the very end of it, the diner.
Yeah.
Death, he's in it, but his
He's a
participation in this
he's a
isn't
casual
the
observer.
right. It isn't the cruxes of why it makes that episode so dope. Now, I guess you can make an argument his presence allows those conversations that are really dope to be like that whole death scene. It reminded me of um the Before series, like Before Sunset, Before Men, with Ethan Hawke and I can't think of the
Yeah.
other chick's name, but how they just
Not
walked
Ethan
and
Hawke.
talked through the whole movie. It reminded me a lot of that, and I love those movies, and I love that because of it, because the things they would speak about and talk about were very like on another level of just hey, like you ever thought about this, or we serve them, and we both. It was a very insightful conversation that made me understand the endless way more than anything that happened before it. But again, like I said, like that episode was Death. Death made that episode dope.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that he did. So I think that's what bothered me through this is that I never once felt that like, Morpheus was a reason or pulling the train of this show, except for yeah, his interaction with Lucifer was pretty cool. He does pull the train in that situation. So I guess I'll say that. But the one thing I was excited for, and it will never happen, but if Netflix is smart, they'll make it happen. They just back up the Brinks trucks to the Winchester brothers and include Supernatural because Azrael is the same demon that killed the Winchester's mother and Sam's girlfriend, and it gave Sam the powers and fed him demon blood. So now you can just have a crossover event with Sandman and the Winchesters, and this would make all this all better because now we can just follow him in an Impala and not have to worry about Sandman at all. He could be like
Is it
sitting in the
Supernatural in the DC
backseat.
universe? Is Supernatural. I mean, it might as well be, right? It's on
Yeah,
WB.
yeah.
It's on
Yeah.
CW, so it is. It is. Let's just go
Yes.
ahead and throw that out there. It
Yes.
is.
So let's just go and integrate them on in and cross that over. Or you could put, I guess, their father and mother when they were younger, because I think that's a prequel series coming out. Just throw that up in Lucifer and just make it happen. And I'll be happy with anything the series does at that point. So that's my review. Whelmed.
As a person who read the series, or at least a large portion of the series, because there's a lot of fucking books. I understand why you see that Sandman is kind of just like there, because a lot of times it's just him observing things. Like even in the comic books, he's just there when things happen, and he's just like kind of thinking about it. It's like, that's kind of nice, that's cool, and he's not. And like a lot of this is, and this is like the first season, and hopefully they get more of it. A lot of this is him becoming more proactive, because for the longest time he's just been kind of like a blasé observer, and he's just kind of like been kind of hands off, like I'm just a guy, I'm just a guy who just does stream stuff, like. And because of him being captured, and he's kind of like has to be shaken out of that sort of like, you just can't stand back and watch. You got to be more proactive, and I think especially after the death episode, you see him stepping up to being more active. But yeah, he definitely for the lot of this is like he's just there, and like he's not really doing not really driving anything. But as I said, like he's probably the least interesting part about this whole entire universe. It's just that this universe kind of revolves around him. So Yeah, but still,
Here, I have the real question for you. What is more haunting? The convention in this one or the convention in Witches?
oh, the witches one, man. Come on.
Angela
Them real witches.
Angela Houston come up with the long
Yeah,
nose and
dude. I still get nightmares about that, man. Come on.
But in defense, like those witches have to usually turn those kids into like rats before they would eat
Yeah,
them. These
yeah.
cats is just like, nah, we take on all challenges. Adults, kids, it don't matter.
You know?
Like,
Freaking I don't remember the collectors and like get out of here. I would be very, very upset if that many serial killers are active in the United States right now. I'd be like, that is horrifying.
hey man, I'm white terrorists, man. Be careful. They got
And
serial
it was a
convictions
very
all over
diverse
this
crowd,
country.
man. There were all sorts of people, serial killers in that crowd. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, that's not realistic. It's just a bunch
Let's
of
hope.
just a bunch of skinny white dudes.
Please,
One
if you
black
can,
dude, like, can I join? Like, no.
avoid all serial conventions if you can. Avoid all serial conventions. With that being said, Jason, what do you rate Sandman?
I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 on this one. Yeah, the things that that made the season for me were so excellently well done that it kind of overrides the sort of other hokiness to the season. So I think that's why I give it such a high score.
So I was teetering because I was between a two and a three. So I'm gonna give it a three because if you don't watch anything, just watch that diner scene is worth the price of admission. Diner
Yeah,
episode, excuse me. Even the scene, the visual at the end is just worth the price of admission, and the death episode is worth the price of admission. And then once you get to episodes, what basically 7, 8, 9, and 10, you pretty much are in one whole storyline that works very well. So, which is pretty much half the 10 episode run. So, I'm gonna give it a three. I didn't hate it. I don't know what I was expecting to either. So that's why it's unfair for me to judge it. Because I think I was expecting like some dream magic fights and some
I'm coming out
craziness
here.
like that.
I've been
Right.
captain. Now it's time for you to dream on.
Right. Aerosmith is
As, he-
blasting in the back when he says it.
as
I
his
think that's what I
dual
was
pistol
expecting.
wielding.
Right. All right. Well, with that being said, guys, it is some people's worst part of the show, but to me, it's usually my favorite. Is when we get to leave you guys and go away and
And go to
disappear for
sleep.
a whole week and then reappear next week like nothing ever changed. This is the end of this show, guys. Thank you all as always for listening to Headcanon Circus. Please remember to like, share, subscribe. Follow us on all places Headcanon Circus. That's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere, just anywhere, everywhere. We're just going to make it all work. Follow us individually on Twitter at Rise Novemberist, and we're on Instagram as well. So just support us. We'll be here. We'll be there. We'll be everywhere. We're going
Be
to kind of like I
square.
keep saying, we're revamping some things to make some synergy so it's easier to find us. But then also we got a couple of special flares coming up in next couple of weeks. But hopefully you guys enjoy this because we enjoy doing it. And again, thank you all for watching. Jason, any final words?
Uh, are we gonna do bodies, bodies, bodies? This is coming up. Bodies,
Oh,
bodies,
you know
bodies.
we are
Yeah.
doing
So
bodies, bodies,
that's
bodies.
coming out this week. So y'all be prepared for that. So, but also always be kind, be considerate, and please tip your servers and bartenders at 20%, if not more, if you can afford it. Jaren doesn't serve tables anymore, so if you just see him on the street, give him one, two, the old heave ho.
All right, guys, thank you all for listening. We will see you all next week. Look, the only dream master I respect is Frederick